Welcome, everybody. This is EA Global Summit 2020 virtual conference connecting global EA practitioners. This is Juhi from Summit team, and we have Ryan from Sparx Services North America presenting here today, aligning architecture and ITSM. We have been seeing fantastic response, over 1,000 people attending this conference, and we have a great lineup of speakers and sophisticated collaboration platform to give you all the best experience of attending this conference. Please log your questions for this session in Teams channel shared in your chat window. Speaker will be answering few questions in the question and answer session at the end, but you can continue the detailed discussion after the session in Teams channel. Now over to you, Ryan, and you can present your session and share your screen now, and I'm making you as presenter now.
Thanks, Juhi.
Yeah.
Let's get the screen going. Fantastic.
Yeah, we are seeing your screen.
Great. Well, welcome everyone to this year's Sparx Global EA Summit, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this session. My name is Ryan Schmier. I'm the Director of Operations at Sparx Services North America, and unfortunately, Chris Armstrong was not able to join us today due to a client scheduling conflict, but we'll go ahead, and Chris's contact information is available at the end of the presentation if you'd like to reach out to him directly. So let's get started. All right, we can get going. So thanks again for your patience. So starting with this little cartoon, and this thing has been out there for like 20 years, but it's a good place for us to start because I think it really outlines the problem that we're facing today as architects working with our IT organizations in agile ways. We see a disconnect between what our clients and what our users expect and how it's envisioned by the different members of the project teams. We've got project managers who view the needs one way, analysts another way, programmers another. It all ends up just being a mess. And we've known about this problem for a while. We've been dealing it for decades. But why haven't we fixed the problem yet? For digital enterprises, it's important that all pieces of the IT organization work together. They need to work together as a cohesive unit to help the business achieve their goals. Unfortunately, this isn't what we often see taking place, even in companies that are aspiring to be modern, agile, and embracing things like digital transformation. We see architects up in an ivory tower, doors closed, envisioning a brilliant future for their organization. We see project teams holed up in their workshops, heads down to deliver the things that their project teams and their clients are asking for. And we see operations teams on the ground with their headphones on, struggling to keep things running, tuning, changing, adapting to day-to-day experiences of the business. Everybody is doing the job that they were hired to do. They're all trying to achieve the same goals, but they're not working together. They're not getting there. In a modern digital enterprise, where technology and process are intertwined and inseparable, the situation has to change. The future success of all these different disciplines really depends on it. Companies that have embraced a DevOps approach have taken steps to bring two of the three functions together already. DevOps isn't always an easy cultural shift, but it's the right approach. And the question is, what happens if we were to invite the architects to the DevOps party? The frameworks that each of the IT functions are built upon are not supposed to be incompatible with each other, but often we find that they are. Architecture frameworks like TOGAF, Zachman, BizBach, and other IT frameworks like ITIL, and the guidelines for project managers, every single one of them suggests that an integrated approach is preferable and that these disciplines need to be working together. We created the divide in the way we implemented these frameworks, the way we implemented our teams, and the way that we implemented our systems. The good news is that means it's also within our control to change things and remove that divide. Why do we really care if these functions work together? Strategic transformation initiatives are being put in jeopardy. Our people are at risk of becoming irrelevant. And at the end of the day, users are the ones that ultimately pay the price of dysfunction. It's just like that cartoon we started with. That's what's happening every day in our companies. Companies are making big investments in these capabilities and big bet initiatives, and they deserve better than what they are getting today. Let's take a look at some of these problems in more detail. Organizations aren't able to change as fast as they need to because architects don't understand the current state of operations and what it means to truly design agile architectures. Operations teams are the ones who understand how the systems and processes really work and what's making change difficult. They deal with these problems every day. Architects and project teams do their best, but they make a lot of assumptions when they're doing their design work. They only know what they can see, and often they don't know what they don't know. They often look to documentation, user desires, and past experience for guidance, but rarely consult the operations teams and the operators who can give them the most meaningful insights about what's going on today in their organizations. IT environments are complex, with components coming from a bunch of different suppliers. In the spirit of agility, we allow small changes to be deployed with minimal review and scrutiny, assuming that they pose little operational risk. But as systems evolve outside of the design parameters that the architects and the designers put in place, performance, availability, overall service assurance really becomes difficult to achieve. The problem here is that the incremental changes are being made without awareness of the original intent of how the systems and processes were supposed to work, making it hard to assess the true impact of the change. And then over time, those little changes compound on each other and become big risks. Companies are spending more money on architecture than they should be. Why? We have highly skilled and highly paid EAs rediscovering our current state systems that your ITSM teams already understand. How many times do we need to rediscover the wheel that ops teams are rolling down the road every day? These costs can be avoided with some simple collaboration. Your production processes work. Your business is getting the job done. You're getting stuff processed somehow. But if the processes don't link together with the underpinning architecture, you're likely seeing duplication of effort, redundant data entry, manual processing tasks, frequent cleanup efforts. And as companies take steps towards becoming more digital enterprises with technology-enabled processes, they just can't hang together somehow. You need processes integrated with your architecture that are robust and dependable, and it's the architect's job to get it there. If your architecture and operations pictures don't interlace into that cohesive picture, business continuity planning and disaster recovery can really be difficult, if not impossible. How confident are you in your preparedness for the next disaster or major incident? Are you disaster recovery planning or just hoping? A lot of companies tested this and found out over the last couple of months with the coronavirus thing. It was a big disruption. They thought they had the continuity plans in place. Many companies discovered that they weren't quite as prepared as they thought they were. They were hoping, but they didn't have the plans. If those problems don't sound good to you, let's draw an alternative picture. Let's describe what success could look like. What if your architects understood what the current state looked like? If they had visibility into the way things are implemented, not just how they were intended. If they could structure projects to be more easily integrated into operations and enable the organization to realize value faster. What if their designs were informed by things like performance and usage data, user feedback, awareness of adjacent processes and systems that weren't on the original design, and the redundant systems and processes that business have had to either make the systems actually work or keep things running when they don't. What if we knew about those ahead of time? And what if the project teams and suppliers could understand how their features fit into a bigger picture? Could they build better features that meet the user's needs the first time? Could they help move the organization closer to the desired state that leaders envision? Would it help operations teams implement features more easily and with lower risk? What if your operations teams and support teams understood what the designers were thinking and why the systems were built the way they were? If they could see not only the present, but where it came from and where we're going to? If the business context and connective tissue made sense? Could they use the architecture models to provide the big picture views that the ITSM data lacks? That's the challenge we really have to solve today. If we could enable a reality like that, our business and shareholders would really benefit with better productivity that in turn leads to better profits. Now that we've drawn a vision of the future state and what's possible, let's break it down into some component views. Success starts with changing the culture and attitudes of your staff, and they look to management for leadership. We need to help them understand the need for change, that the future of the company and their careers depends on it. We do that with architecture enabling agility, a one-team philosophy, and operations given an equal value as an architecture and project functions, not a perceived hierarchy. Today, in a lot of organizations, you have architects at the top, and then project teams try to align to the architecture and ops teams align to the project teams. It doesn't make sense. All three of these functions play an equal and important role in driving the success of your overall organization. Your architects and operations team need to understand that the values that the others bring to the table. For each of the roles in your organization, it's not just about making data available and giving people visibility, it's about changing both skill sets and mindsets, teaching people to use information and collaborate with each other in new ways. It's not just about skills and information. There are process changes that are needed too. Let's take a look at a couple. For architects, this picture should look familiar. It's the ADM from TOGAF. Most people assume that you start at the top and move into phase A and go around the circle clockwise. That's kind of what the arrows depict, right? What if we stopped beginning with a new vision and instead started our architecture process by understanding the current state? Everybody's starting somewhere, right? Looking at everything as a change management exercise instead of a design exercise. Likewise, for the ITSM folks, as ITSM teams look at their change management processes, impact assessments should take into consideration both the reality and current state information that they get from change requests, as well as the intent and design constraints from the architects and the project teams that created the systems. We've talked a little bit already about the need for information to be shared amongst the different functions in IT, breaking down silos, taking the blinders off. However, your organization talks about it. We also need to get to an integrated data set that's trustworthy and everyone can use. The data set needs to be connected through a common data model. It needs to be trustworthy and accurate so teams can depend on it. And it needs to be up to date. Operations needs to take action in the present, and architects need an accurate current state picture to inform the future. But everyone needs to be working from the same data and the same information. This is the data foundation of a modern digital enterprise. Like any foundation, you can think of this just like bricks and mortar. ITSM provides the components, and architecture provides the connective tissue and strategic intent that binds those components together. When you bring the two together, You get a powerful data foundation to build your business upon. Sparx Enterprise Architect provides the ideal modeling platform to bring these pieces together and provide the cohesion that your organization needs. Now, it's our job to use that platform to actually integrate the data model. We can't talk about process and data integration without talking about systems integration too. In most organizations, whether they're using legacy waterfall methods or something like Agile or DevOps, engineering, infrastructure ops, and ITSM systems are typically reasonably integrated today. They've learned as part of DevOps, and just over time to integrate your engineering, ITSM, and infrastructure space. Architecture system integration is where the gap is. At Sparx Service in North America, we've built a practice area specifically around helping companies improve this integration. If you join the next session, which starts in about an hour, I'll actually be showing you some of what we've been doing in this space. But it's really critical that we start building those linkages between our EA systems and the other tools that are used to manage the execution and operations of our IT environments. In the modern digital enterprise where people and technology are intertwined and inseparable, silos simply need to go away. So grab your sledgehammer or any other tools you have in your toolbox and start busting them down. As architects, we are big picture thinkers. We understand that success comes from looking at problems from different perspectives, breaking complexity down into manageable pieces that we can successfully address. Here are some of the key puzzle pieces that architects need to start looking at to be successful in this new digital age that we're in and to start bringing the cohesion into their organization. Business goals, where's your company going? Decision support tools, how are leaders making decisions? Are your tools enabling agility or slowing you down? The digital age that we're entering into right now is going to require entirely new ways of thinking and acting, and that starts with culture. Reference models play a big part. Are the reference models that you're using, be them an industry reference model, a framework like TOGAF or ITIL or BizBach, are they helping you accelerate change or are they slowing you down? You need to understand that and you need to start optimizing your use of them. Aggressive timelines, well, things change and things are changing faster every day. Your company needs to change quickly and you need to help them do that. Modeling languages play a big part of how we work as architects. Communication and collaboration are critical in a global economy. Modeling languages enable us to talk with people other than our direct teams. They allow us to communicate things in consistent ways. We all deal with resource and budget constraints. Usually that means we don't have the resources we need and the budgets are shrinking. That drives us to find new, more efficient ways of operating. We deal with architecture standards. TOGAF is great, but we really need to address the architecture agility issue if we want to be relevant. We deal with the technology constraints. We have to address, the reality of what will our company allow, what will the modern and emerging technologies enable, and what is our organization's ability to accept and adapt to change. And last on the list, architect skills. This is an important piece of the puzzle. It's last on the list, not because it's least important, but because updating your skills is the thing you have the most control over. I also know from experience that the last point on the slide is probably the only thing you're going to remember here, so I put it at the end so you'll remember it. Okay, the reason we need to go through this process of integration, it's all about becoming more agile. There are 3 types of agility that relate to enterprise architecture, and we need to understand all of them. The role of the architects in supporting agile software development and agile project teams. developing agile architectures, or applying agile methods in our own work, and business agility, using architecture to make our companies more adaptive to change in the environment. As architects, we often say, okay, yeah, we're trying to be more agile, but which one of these things are we trying to address? Enterprise business agility is the real goal for our organizations. It's what most of us are trying to achieve as architects right now. The past few months have given businesses around the globe a real wake-up call on this business agility front. And business agility is all about how you manage disruption. Does it slow you down, or is it an accelerator? I had a chance to have a lot of great conversations over the last few weeks with customers from different industries and different companies who've had vastly different experiences as it relates to this. Some companies looked at it and said, this pandemic and people working remotely, our business just came to a stop, and now they're trying to figure out what to do. I've got other organizations who are facing a very different reality. They saw the disruption as a catalyst for change, a chance to perhaps let go of some of the things that they were doing in the past, accelerate their path towards the future. We've seen some organizations grow exponentially over the past few months, while others have started stagnating and are questioning their long-term viability. Agile architecture methods, in terms of using agility in our own work, these are the means to help us get there, to help our organizations achieve business agility. And here's a way to think about it. You know, are we doing architecture in an agile way? Can you do the first iteration of your architecture on a napkin in the time it takes you to have a cocktail with your boss? You might try it sometime. You don't have to build out the entire architecture, have all the details built out to have a meaningful conversation with somebody. Agility is all about iteration. It's about iterating in a way and continuing the conversation until you reach the point of having that MVP, that minimum viable product. Do we understand this concept, this need, the opportunities, the approach well enough to move forward? And then once we get something out there, how can we test it and refine it and quickly move into that continuous improvement mode? As we think about that continuous improvement mode, this is really a mindset more than a tool problem or skills or process, anything else. As architects, we like to see the big picture. We like to see the long distance, where are we going in the future? And we want to push our organizations to get there. But often we forget that our companies are operating today. They're operating in the here and now. And so we need to maintain that long-term perspective, but be grounded in the present. And a question, when are you done with your architecture? Had an interesting conversation with Chris about this a few weeks ago. When is your architecture done? Well, it's never done. Well, is it when you're dead? Is it when you change jobs, when your company ceases to exist? As long as you're still there, as long as you're still working on solving your business problems, your architecture should continuously evolve. And that's what being agile as an architect is really all about, is understanding that, you know, we are not building things that will last in a static fashion forever. We are working in a dynamic environment, and we need to continuously change. So getting to where we want to be and need to be isn't something that can be done overnight. It's something that can't just be assigned to a single function and expect success. It also isn't just a process or system problem. If we think of architecture, project teams, and operations staff as all being part of a common discipline of IT, instead of separate functions, it makes understanding the next steps in the process much simpler. Where you start will depend on your organization and whether initiatives like DevOps have put some of the foundational pieces in place already. Unlike a traditional process-first approach, what I find works best for most companies is to start with a discussion of culture. Until you break down the cultural barriers between job roles and help people understand that change is good for the company and good for their careers, any of the other changes that we might talk about are never going to stick. The second area to focus on is data model integration. This is where individuals will feel the most impact in their ability to make more informed decisions because they feel confident in the data that they have to work with. System integration activities will naturally emerge from the integrated data model as people seek out better quality real-time data to drive insights. Once you get to this point, you'll probably have developed a groundswell of grassroots support with momentum to drive the process, skills, and management changes that will carry you to the finish line and help you get to where you want to get. As you look back into your companies, the vision that I had described may sound pretty far off with a difficult road to get there. That's okay. It can be daunting. Sparx Services North America and the other Sparx Services organizations and partners around the world, we're here to help. Whether it's with tool integration, meta model development, processes and best practices, training and mentoring. The reason all of the global Sparx partner organizations and services organizations exist is to help you and your teams be more productive, drive better decisions, and deliver greater value to your organizations. So if you want to become more agile, if you want to drive greater value to your companies, the first place to start is with a conversation. Reach out to somebody, talk to them about it. We're here to help you. And keep in mind, that everybody starts someplace, and the most important thing to do is just start. Take the first step. Lace up your walking shoes and get started. And some final thoughts here. If I've said something in this session that intrigues you, something that resonated, something you disagree with, I encourage you to continue the conversation. We're going to have another session in about 45 minutes to an hour that's going to kind of dig down into some of the things that we can do from a tooling perspective to integrate EA with your ITSM system. I encourage you to join that session. There's also the Sparx North America Teams channel as a part of the event. Post your questions in there. We'll be monitoring that throughout the next few days, responding to folks. Let's have the conversation and let's keep the dialogue going. And then if you'd like some help getting started, Sparx Services North America is here to help. You can contact us via the website or my email is there. Just send me a note. I'd be happy to have a call with you, conversation about some of the things that we can do to help your organizations be more agile, bring your ITSM and architecture practices into alignment so you can really achieve the types of results that your companies are looking for. So with that, Juhi, do we have any questions?
Thanks for the perfect session, Ryan. So we have few questions and I'll be posting the same in MS Teams to take it forward for further conversations. Just a quick question from Ahmed asking about many compliments regarding this session. We were receiving many compliments from the participants with your session, Ryan. They are saying it's fantastic. It's a nice presentation. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, yeah, there is a question from Ahmed asking, it targets the business agility in the chart and show how we can do architecture agile environment. So if it's possible to answer over here, please do so, or else please let him know.
I think this is actually a good conversation for us to explore further in the Teams channel, but let me try and address it a little bit. So I talked a little bit about the different types of agility.
Okay.
Business agility, enabling our organizations to be more agile is the goal. And like I mentioned, over the last few months, whether it's a natural disaster or geopolitical disruption, we see things with governments and tariffs happening all the time. Whether it's a global pandemic, things happen. We also see new emerging technology as a disruption or as a disruptor. We see market forces like new competitors, new products, new technologies serve as disruptors. Not all these disruptors are bad. Your organization needs the ability to understand what is an opportunity and what's a threat to you, and how you should respond to it, and how quickly you can make that assessment to say, is this something that can harm me, or is this something that can help me? The faster you're going to be able to develop a response plan to it. So when we talk about business agility, that's what we're talking about. And the way we deliver business agility to a great extent comes from our architectures, and it comes from our solutions and our platforms and how we implement them. So as architects, we need to think about architectures, be them business architecture, solution architectures, as being designed for change, optimized for change. Too often we think about, what is the solution that will last forever? We need to think about, what is the solution that's going to deliver me the best near-term value I can get, and will be most adaptable and easiest to change when things change, because things will change. So it's really that change mindset. And then as we work with project teams to deliver those architectures in the form of solutions, in the form of business processes, we need to look at it and build in the signals in there, so we can instrument in our tools and in our processes the listening mechanisms that will help us understand when new opportunities are emerging, when new threats are emerging, and new risks that arrive that need to be addressed. So it all kind of fits together, and I'd be happy to explore it in the Teams channel, or if someone would like to have a phone conversation about it, I'd reach out to me, send me an email. I'd love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. I've posted these questions, the other questions too, over the Teams channel, looping you in. Please have a look at that and respond it when you have time.
Certainly.
So thank you, Ryan, once again. So thanks all for joining the great session. The video of the session will be made available after this conference, and we will be notifying you all once it's available. Please join MS Teams and continue the conversations with Ryan and other EA experts. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.